Hello, this is Dan, a librarian at Harold Washington Library U-Media, but today I'll be your guide as we dive into the exciting world of conducting research and writing a research-based paper. We'll move from first discovering a topic that interests you, to pinpointing a perspective about that topic to research, and finally finding the perfect source to support or even dispute your perspective. In doing so, we'll look at some of Chicago Public Library's best online resources for doing high school level research. All of the resources we look at are free to use with your library card anywhere you have an internet connection. Don't have a library card yet? Check out our quick online video showing you how to get an e-card instantly and without leaving the house. So, you must be assigned a research paper. Otherwise, why would you be watching this? You're probably also wondering where to begin. Well, start at the Chicago Public Library website, chipublib.org. Then, click on Browse, and find the drop-down menu leading to Online Resources. This page will be your hub for not only doing online research, but also downloading free books and music, learning a new language with Mingo Languages, and a whole lot more fun stuff. Right now, though, let's look at a few different ways to discover potential resources for you to use in your research. For example, you can pull up lists organized by format, subject, and age to help you find the right resource. Now, however, we're going to hone in on a few specific resources that I want to show you. So we're going to head straight to the A to Z list in the upper right corner. As the list loads, you'll see titles of different online resources with brief descriptions explaining what they contain and how they might help you. Also note the little library card symbol next to most of these resource names. This indicates that this database, which would otherwise cost you money, is now provided to you for free with your library card or e-card. And don't forget about getting that e-card if you don't have one. So now you find yourself in a place with these huge collections of information that we often call databases. You might be wondering how to begin doing research. And perhaps you're even coming here without a specific topic or just an idea for a topic that's really broad and multifaceted and needs to be narrowed. Something like gun control or education, racism, abortion, video games. These are all really common topics we see that have potential to be really good topics but need to be narrowed. So with that in mind, let's look at an online resource CPL has to offer that exists to help you find out the different types of subjects that are out there, and then to think about the types of questions you might want to ask about that subject when conducting your research. We'll start with issues and controversies, so we'll scroll down to I since we're in the alphabetical list, and click on issues and controversies. You can see from looking at the description of this online resource that it's great for students working on persuasive essays or debates, or anyone wanting authoritative background information on the issues making today's headlines. So it's a great place to start for finding that subject that might be of interest to you at the beginning stages of your research. After clicking and opening issues and controversies, you go to a home screen that showcases a lot of current and popular research topics. You can look around. It's a good way to see if something jumps out to you as an interesting topic or matches kind of what you had in mind. You'll see that the subjects are organized in a couple of different ways to get to them, whether that's by how recent they are, by the subject they fall in, or just through the alphabetical list of everything they have. For our purposes today, I'm going to think back to some of those very general subjects that come up a lot with high school research papers. One that comes to mind right away is education. You're all in school, so sure, education's on your mind. It's a good research topic. Let's go to issues and controversies, alphabetical list, and see if education's on there. We go to E and we see educational policy, so pretty close. We can click on that and see what that gets us. Now we really start to see the value of this online resource. We clicked on educational policy, and at the jump page we see a whole bunch of broad overviews for more specific issues within educational policy. From school uniforms to common standards for curriculum, we start to see more specific issues within educational policy that become much more manageable to research than just educational policy in general. I've looked around and seen some good options, but for this example, I'm going to click on should school districts throughout the United States adhere to common educational standards. After I click, I'm taken to a page that has information and resources specifically about that question. One of the things you'll first notice is what they call the pro-con article. This is a research article unto itself. It contains statistics, a graph, some quotes, and some history about the issue. You'll notice at the bottom of the article there's a tool for citing it in MLA form in case you use any of this information in your own research. The article itself is an expository piece. It doesn't necessarily take a stand, but rather provides an overview of the issue of Common Core curriculum. So you are not likely to find all of the information you need here, but you definitely will find enough to know more about the topic, to figure out if that's the topic for you, and some of the perspectives about that topic that you can dive into in your research. The next tab after the pro-con article is primary sources. So we click on that and we'll find links to primary sources about this subject. Primary sources are always a great place to look because they represent actual documents, actual artifacts that were created and exist about that topic without any kind of sort of explanation or research attached to it. You may find that your assignment requires primary sources, and in that case, well, there you go. You've got a couple to start with. In this particular case, the primary sources are related to court cases, actual transcriptions, rulings made by judges without any context sort of added to them from any outside source. That's what makes them primary. It's up to you to figure out what it all means. Or you can click on the next tab, Court Cases, where you'll actually find some descriptions and analysis of some of those court cases from the primary sources. There's also a tab for news, although the Issues and Controversies news section tends to be a little limited, especially compared to some of the other online resources CPL has, some of which we'll look at soon. So hopefully that helps show a little bit about how a resource like Issues and Controversies can help you find a subject and narrow it down a little bit. Generally, if you find one of those issues within a subject, that means it's not going to be a dead end in your research. You're going to find stuff about it, and hopefully it'll be closer to getting specific enough that you won't be overwhelmed. However, it's fairly likely that Issues and Controversy won't be enough to conduct a good research paper. So why is that? For one, Issues and Controversy does not provide access to very many peer-reviewed sources. Have you heard of peer-reviewed sources before? It's quite possible this assignment requires them, or an assignment you have in another class does, and it definitely will be the fact when you're in college that you'll need to cite peer-reviewed sources. A peer-reviewed article is one that has been read by experts in the field who are evaluating it to be sure that it's well-researched, accurate, current, and written by somebody who knows what they're talking about. Also, by nature, Issues and Controversies is very top level. It's broad and fairly general. It's not really possible to search for very specific information, and oftentimes the best research papers require very specific results. But have no fear, ShyPubLive.org has great resources for finding that more specific information and conducting that really quality research. We'll close Issues and Controversies and thank it for helping us find our slightly more specific Common Core curriculum subject, and go back to the ShyPubLive.org online resources page. Once again, we'll click on A to Z Resources and scroll down this time to E for EBSCOhost. With few exceptions, EBSCO will always be a good choice for conducting that next level of research. EBSCO is an extremely user-friendly engine for searching all sorts of sources of information, many of which are peer-reviewed. The subjects of the sources of information range from anything from art and English to social studies to history to math and science, and pretty much anything you can think of related to what you might be learning in school. So let's click on EBSCO and start diving into specific research, good results, and some really neat tools that can help you out when you're writing your papers. On the home screen of EBSCO, you see what looks kind of like your regular search engine, and it's really easy to type in a phrase, a term, and see what happens. So for the fun of it, why don't we type in educational policy, that broad subject we started with, and see what happens on EBSCO. A couple of things from this search really highlight why it's so important to narrow your subject to be more specific. We see right away that we have over 90,000 results in total, and the first two articles, although they're about educational policy in general, couldn't be more different. One is about social network analysis in the United States, and the other is about educational policy in the Netherlands and Chile. You might be thinking, big deal, I can do another search, or I can just look through all these pages of results, but that really winds up being kind of a waste of your time when you're doing research papers and you're busy with other things in your life. And also, the ability to effectively and efficiently conduct research without doing many searches and clicking on many unimportant articles becomes really important later on in life, especially if you enter a corporate or legal field where business owners and organizations may actually be charged every time an employee does a search or clicks on an article. In those cases, the ability to find the right resource as efficiently as possible could be the difference between getting a promotion or not. So thankfully, we're not coming in at this cold, but have already spent some time thinking about educational policy and a more specific question we want to get at, which is the effect of Common Core curriculum. So at the top of the search bar, I'm going to refine my search. I'm going to type Common Core in quotation marks to make sure that those two words are grouped together, and curriculum. But before searching, I'm going to add a few limiters that will help me get even closer to the results I want. You can find the limiters on the left toolbar. Here, I'm going to click Full Text, Peer Reviewed, and I'm going to slide this to be at 2016, meaning I'm only getting results from 2016 to 2020. By clicking on full text, I'm only going to get results for articles I can access right away, and by clicking on peer reviewed, I'm only getting those peer reviewed resources that we already talked about. I still get 104 results when I conduct a search, which is probably too many, and you can tell by scrolling that the results are a little bit all over the place in terms of their subject. This suggests we probably need to get even more specific. Depending on how you want to focus your research, there's some different ways to do this. You could focus on a specific location to research this issue. Maybe add the phrase "and Illinois" if you only want to know about local results. Or perhaps you're more interested in Common Core curriculum as it relates to a specific subject, say math. We could add the phrase "and math." In either case, we're actually once again going through the process of further narrowing our research subject. And by limiting our scope, we're also finding a more manageable number of resources to look through. In our Common Core math example, we're down to 30 results, and the top few results definitely seem to be fairly closely related and pretty helpful to helping us understand this issue a little further. Now that we've narrowed our focus and we've gotten some pretty good results, let's talk just a little bit about analyzing those results as we click on them. Based on its title, I'm immediately drawn to the second result: how well aligned are Common Core textbooks to students' development in area measurement. I'm going to click on the result, but I'm not going to read the article right away. Most of these academic articles are long and a little dense. I think this one is 16 pages all told. Instead, I'm going to look at the subject, and I'm going to definitely look closely at the abstract. These subjects and keywords seem to match up with what I'm trying to research. We have mathematics, teaching, elementary education, textbooks, learning, and the keywords include curriculum, curriculum standards, and math. Sounds pretty good so far. But the abstract is really going to be key to me deciding whether or not I want to download and read this article. The abstract is a summary. It highlights the main research points and the main conclusions drawn in the article generally, and really gives you an idea of what to expect as you read this article, and really helps you determine whether or not it's going to help prove or refute the arguments you're trying to make. Believe me when I say I've wasted a lot of time in my life reading articles that I was never going to understand without first reading the abstract, so please look at the abstract before you open the article. In this example, the abstract really does serve to show that this is an article I'm probably going to want to reference. Since that's the case, I'm going to move to the right side of this page, and I'm going to find all these different ways of saving this article and saving this link to the article to get to later on, whether it's through Google Drive or emailing to myself or even printing. And make special note of the Cite button, which auto-generates citations for this article in basically any format imaginable and will save you a lot of time when creating your works cited page or your annotated bibliography. And with that, we've completed the process of taking what was a very broad subject, narrowing it down, and then getting even more specific, and ultimately finding a very relevant article to support our research. Thank you for using the Chicago Public Library's online resources.